Great. All right, welcome everyone. We're going to be talking about how to get ready for the summer season. It's getting warm outside. I'm so excited. It's feeling great. Busy season starting now.
Awesome. Yeah, I know it feels like it's already summer, so it almost feels like we should have done this a week ago, but I think there's still a lot of really helpful information because particularly for farms and farmers markets, it's only going to get busier from here on out, right? So if anyone is new to Taste the Local Difference, we just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce ourselves. We are a local food marketing agency specializing in supporting agriculture, food, and beverage producers. So we support farmers and farmers markets and breweries and wineries and restaurants and retail stores, all sorts of businesses involved in the local food scene with their marketing. And we really, everyone on our team absolutely loves local food and all really believe in uplifting these purpose-driven entrepreneurs and helping them tell their stories and find those loyal customers and figure out, how to make that really successful business within your local community. We can also introduce ourselves for those of you who don't know us. My name's Christina Marbury, and I'm the marketing director here, and I live up in Traverse City, Michigan.
And I'm Emily Rao. I'm in Waterford, which is like 30 minutes north of Detroit, and I'm the media and brand manager here at Taste the Local Difference. Cool. Yeah, Christina kind of covered this already, but yeah, summer, busy season. From really like we talked about farmers markets and farms, but also restaurants and wineries and breweries, tourist season, huge traffic to Michigan locations. So this is definitely applicable to restaurants as well, or places that are serving food. And we're just going to talk about how to prepare and plan um, for the busy season that is just now starting. But like Christina said, there's plenty of things that you can still do to get ready. One of those first things is website. So you might already have a website. If you don't have a website, you can throw something together. It's with us, with our we can help you throw something together if you're not comfortable with it. Really just having all of your up-to-date information somewhere on the interwebs is really important. But if you have a website that is existing, you just want to make sure folks know what you have. So maybe last year 2023, your farmers market had classes for kids, like planting classes or something, or weekly jazz nights. But you're not doing that in 2024. Make sure that's up to date on your website or different products that you're offering. Maybe that's switched. Also, making sure folks know where to buy your products. So maybe you've started an e-commerce store. Maybe it's not linked on your website yet, or there's two different places. Maybe you're entering new markets this year or in different stores around town. Make sure folks know where they can purchase your product. That's a huge uh, yeah, it's just like a huge audience on your website, the people coming to it. Just make sure all those options are available to discover your product. Another thing that it's something that we have to remind ourselves to do at Taste the Local Difference as well, is to really strategically go through every single one of your pages because especially as you build out your website, you might have even pages that aren't linked in your navigation. So taking time to go through all of those pages and click on the links to make sure those sites exist anymore or those pages work. It's frustrating when you're looking at someone's website and you're really interested in their product or where they're going or how to get there. And it gives you the 404 error sign and just a road to nowhere. So making sure those work, super important.
Awesome. So After you've made sure your website is looking really great, the next thing that we recommend you do is go to check out your listings elsewhere on the internet. There are so many places online that your business has information out there, and different people use different sources to find out, when you're open or where to find your products, all of those things that Emily just mentioned. And making sure that your listing is accurate in all those places is super important. Um, so the things that I think are like number one, make sure they happen are social media and your Google business listing. I pulled some screenshots onto this page from a farm up here in Traverse City. So you can see their social media account over here, their Yelp listing. Many people don't think about Yelp, but it is still a relevant site that a lot of people are going to get information. So, they have a farm store that's open. So making sure your seasonal hours are up to date in those places. And then this one down here in the bottom right is the Google business listing. So that's all the information about your business that shows up in Google Maps. And also if somebody searches for your business in like regular Google search, it'll show up on the side of the other listings. Or if they search in the regular Google search for like farm markets near me or something like that, they're going to see a map that has businesses that are located near them that seem relevant to their search. And that's where it's pulling that information about your business is from your Google business listing. I could go on and on about Google business listings, and I believe we have a webinar scheduled just about it in the future. And then I also have a quick screenshot down here of the Taste the Local Difference directory, another great place to make sure that your listing is up to date. Also, like Nextdoor, if you're on there, really the listing piece seemingly endless. But as much as possible, trying to make sure that everything is up to date in every place. So the number one most important thing for the overall health of your search optimization is to make sure your name, your address, and your phone number are exactly the same everywhere your business is listed online. So I think that Lakeview is a great example here of they go by Lakeville Hill Farm ampersand market, not like and written out. So making sure it's exactly that same way everywhere. And I see a great opportunity to update their local Taste the Local Difference listing because it still just says Lakeview Hill Farm, and they must haven't, it seems as though they haven't updated it since they opened the standalone market that they have. So then making sure that your hours are accurate and your opening date, you can set in your Google listing, for example, you can set like that you're opening on a certain date for the season and set your times there. Make sure all your links are accurate. So make sure, you have a link to your website. If you have a separate online ordering platform, especially on social media, it's good to include a link directly to that platform to make it really easy for people to get there. And then also just update your photos and check your description in the same way we talked about updating your website. Also make sure all of your information is still accurate here. If you've changed speeds a little bit in what you're doing from one year to the next, this is the perfect time to make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, so considering print materials is also super important, especially at places where community gathers and at farmers markets, if you're vending there, or if like a coffee shop or something has kind of a community board. But you don't want to use the old stuff. So like, especially if your hours, days, your name, your logo, colors, there's so many things that can be updated year to year. So that's also something to keep in mind when you're creating print materials is kind of forecasting what are these going to be used for and like how many really do I need to print realistically? And maybe start on the smaller side because, for example, like Taste the Local Difference, we rebranded this year. We still have some old logos and materials out there, which is totally expected and fine, but they're not something that we'll use anymore. So but they're really valuable, um, especially like, yeah, you can see this mini recipe cards, this different flyers, and also Christina's making these go forward, and there's a great information here. So like, um, if folks can grab that and keep it in their purse or on their refrigerator, you want to make sure they have the right information displayed and not seeing like an old phone number or something. And then, um, sorry, I'm like kind of, Christina, do you have anything else to add to
No, I
print materials?
think that's all, like make sure your existing materials are up to date and, you know, think about if there's anything new that might be helpful. Like all of the things Emily mentioned, if, there's places around town you could hang flyers about this example here from North Harvest CSA is a farm stand that they have on their farm once a week. So they put these flyers up in, grocery stores, libraries, community centers, all sorts of places around town to try and let people know that they can come and purchase directly from them, and included, I think notable, the types of payment options they accept. So calling out that they accept SNAP and Senior Project Fresh at their farm stand. So people know that they can come and use those payment methods if they don't have money in the bank to pay for their food.
Something else I would consider too is, especially if you're designing your own print materials, is showing them to a friend or a colleague, getting a second set of eyes on the materials just to see like, does this make sense? Is there any information that you would want to add to this? Is this like too much? I think that's having an outside perspective is always really valuable.
Definitely. And if you just need somebody to do it for you, this is something that we help with. These are materials that we've designed for folks. Awesome. So this is just like a general call out. So this is the end of the section that is more about like cleaning up your presence online. And we're going to start talking a little more about planning for the summer ahead. But we did recently release this spring cleaning for your business. It's a checklist that has all of the things we talked about it and also much more. So if you want to set aside a day or two to work on cleaning up some of your marketing for the year ahead, this is a really great resource to head over to our localfoodmarketing.com website to download.
And it's free.
And it's free. Yes, it is free. Even better. All right. So now we're going to talk about planning. So that's like the preparing all of your materials and things, but then you can also spend a lot of really valuable time ahead of the busiest parts of your season planning what you're going to share and when, so that when the time comes, you're ready to do it and you don't have to put quite as much time into it when there's really not much time left in the day for marketing.
Getting organized is something that, like I'm guilty of it too. I'm like, if there's something I need to, like maybe like personally, if I'm looking at my life, like if you're not uploading or like don't have a place to put photos, they're just gonna like start collecting on your phone, or like other people will have that information spread out. If you like create folders either on your computer, or if you have a shared like, Google Drive or Dropbox, making sure like they're all in one location is super helpful when you're creating content and like pulling things for newsletters or social. So right now, if you have all that stuff from last year, dump it into a folder, dump it into one location, ask your staff, like, hey, do you guys have stuff from last year? Like, put it in this folder. And then also, like, you're getting organized now. Set up ones for this year as well. So, like, maybe spring 2024, these are all the photos we're going to put here. And because once we get busier, it's like harder to set aside time to be organized. So do as much as you can now, to set yourself up for success later.
Another really great thing to do is to consider your past efforts. Consider what you've done in past years when it comes to marketing your business. Things are always changing in terms of what works best, but I think it's really, really important for businesses to know that marketing is not like a one size fits all sort of thing. We have lots of ideas, we have best practices. But everyone has a different group of customers, and everyone's customers are a little bit different, and everyone's community is a little bit different. So it is really important to consider for you specifically what's worked well, not just what the general best practice is. So taking a little bit of time to consider, what have you done in the past years that seems like it really had an impact on your sales or your success? What didn't work very well that you could either try and update the process or maybe skip it and think of something new that you could tackle, and that could be something like maybe your emails that you were sending for email marketing weren't really getting the amount of traction that you thought they might. So trying different subject lines or sending them at different times during the week or including different content or, making a point to have your emails structured so they have a really good call to action. Making those little tweaks. This is a great time to consider what those tweaks should be. And then during the season, when you're doing your marketing, if something feels like it falls flat, make a note for yourself for next winter for when you might go through this process again ahead of the next season. And then also think about what new things you might want to try, whether it's, committing to creating one Instagram reel every week or trying email marketing because you haven't done it before. Those sorts of things. Think about what those new marketing efforts you might want to tackle this season are.
And I'd also say, like, if you feel like last season you were doing way too much, pick something that like was successful. Like Christina said, you're like seeing what worked before. Maybe you want to focus your effort on there, and perfecting that before you add new things, like, you know, quality over
Agreed.
quantity, baby. Um, so outlining the season with important dates and product releases. This can be as broad or specific as you'd like. We suggest like do something broad to start, and then you can dig in each um, kind of outline with a content calendar. You can, especially like holidays and things, those are easy to pull out. Those have specific dates. So you can kind of plan marketing around those, different campaigns for newsletters or social campaigns. And if you don't have like sales in mind, maybe you say like, oh, I'm going to do sales like in this cadence, or I'm going to plan like 3 events this year, and this is where it's going to be. I need to backtrack a couple months so I can start promoting it. It's just a way to get yourself more organized, instead of being like, oh, like shoot, this event I have is like in 2 weeks and I've not done any promotion, like, and now I'm gonna like have to figure out it all right now. This is something where you can like be like, okay, I got a couple months to do this. I'm going to do it sometime this week, and really be able to segment your time and plan for those things. So it's not as stressful in the moment.
Mhm. And also, you can do this like without putting an exact date on it. Like Emily said, yeah, there are things that will have an exact date, but you probably don't know what date you're going to start harvesting, tomatoes or whatever that exciting produce item you have that people are always really looking forward to starting to see. And so you could always say, oh, around the second week of July or mid-July even. And then the planning items we're going to address in a moment, it could be like, okay, when I know I'm about a week out from this thing, I'm going to do this to promote it. Um, so even if you don't have exact dates for everything, just having that general flow of the season written down so you can, work through it and promote those items ahead of time instead of getting into that last minute rush of needing to promote things. Cool. So we're going to focus a little more closely on a few channels and talk about how you can take that list of what's coming up in the busy season and start to create some plans and even create some assets so you're ready to go when the time comes. So we sort of mentioned this already, but I always like to tell people consider your capacity. It's great to say you need to have an online store and do email marketing and do social media and everything, but it's not realistic for some small business owners to do it all. So make sure that what you're planning is something that you realistically can actually achieve during your season. Um, And then once you've, kind of figured out what that is, you'll want to plan, what you'll send and what you'll include in terms of your marketing. So these are kind of the steps we recommend to do that. The first thing is templates, I think are really helpful for email marketing. If you don't already have templates in your MailChimp or Squarespace or whatever account you use for email marketing, that is a great place to start. And so I think of a template. Most of the email systems have, something they refer to as a template, but you can also often just take an email and duplicate it to, create another copy of the same structure. But having templates that have, the spaces laid out in the colors and font styles and photo placement that looks really nice and branded for all the different ways you might share information. So it could be with like a photo and some text, or, the buttons that you want to use, or different photo types, and a place for a bulleted list of products that you have that you're harvesting this week, things like that. Then you're all set up, and a lot of the design work is taken off of your plate when you have the busiest moments of your year. Um, and then you can also outline what content you want to share in each email. So maybe you make a plan that's, I'm going to send one email every 2 weeks. And so you write down those dates throughout the summer, and then you kind of say, okay, this email is going to talk about, and it doesn't have to be specific. You could say, I'm going to talk about what's going on behind the scenes on the farm or in the kitchen, or what we're getting in the store that's exciting from local farmers. And then when the time is there, you can fill in with exactly what that information is. It's also a great time to do some research for seasonal recipes, for seasonal products. Sorry, I'm trying to read and speak at the same time, which is not going right. What I'm trying to say is research recipes for your seasonal products. So if you're a farm, the things that you're harvesting throughout the year. If you're like a specialty producer or a grocery store, you kind of know what might be coming in the door from farms. You might, make a flavored syrup that you sell, and oh, it's really good if you drizzle it over roasted carrots with these spices. And so, when a lot of carrots are coming out of farms, you're going to share that recipe. So just kind of having those pieces of content, whether it's general topics or the actual research behind recipes, and telling your business's story and things like that. Write as much of it as you can ahead of time, and just have the placeholders there. So when it comes time to send those emails, it is as efficient as it possibly can be. And then I always like to call out that emails can be scheduled. Social media can also be scheduled. We're going to talk about that next. But you can schedule them pretty far ahead of time, or create drafts that you then schedule later. So if you do have a lot of time right now, you can actually create the drafts of all of those emails with the layout in there, and even just, maybe highlight in red the sections that you need to update. So when it comes time to send, it's even easier. And then you can schedule them to send, maybe a week before it actually goes out. You could schedule it, and then it kind of takes that stress off your plate a little bit.
So similarly, social media, considering capacity. So like how often you really want to post, and knowing that you can always increase it over time. So yeah, when you're planning the post and topics to cover, just considering like what's the most important, what do I really want to communicate, and then basing your strategy off that. Um, Templates, we're talking templates again. Canva, we love Canva. We preach Canva all the time. It's a great design tool, and it has you can customize sizes, but they already have like Instagram, Facebook, all those specs already preloaded. So if you're maybe a farmer's market who wants to highlight a vendor every week, but you want some like graphic in there or some text, you can use the same one every week and just duplicate the template and switch out the photo. So just like with the emails, it's going to be kind of a plug and play situation. Saves you a lot of time in the long run. And like the content calendars we were talking before, you can sorry. So we talked about content calendars before. So those posts, like Christina was saying about like emails, you can schedule those. Sometimes in Meta is like the Facebook and Instagram scheduler. Sometimes it won't let you schedule way far ahead. So like that is something where you might draft it before. Um, but if you know, like I'm going to have tomatoes this time of year or tomatoes in general, like we can start planning out a tomato post and then you can like schedule it later. So, um, understanding that like it doesn't have to have a specific date like we were talking about, but you can plan as much as you want ahead of time. Yeah, and I kind of just talked about that as well. I think also if you just have a spare moment too, not that like there's always spare moments, but if you're like, I know next week's going to be really busy. So this is like throughout the season, you could say like, okay, I'm going to schedule this post, or I'm going to schedule like 5 posts, and then I'm not going to do this for 2 weeks.
I feel like that's one of the things in talking with busy business owners when they get to the point of being able to schedule their social media content, it makes it feel so much more manageable than trying to remember to do it in the moment and come up with the ideas in the moment. Awesome. That is the majority of what we have for you. I think that this planning piece of, going into that busy season with some confidence in knowing what you're going to do to market your business really can be super key to having a successful marketing program throughout the season. Because I always hear from people like, how do I fit this into my schedule? That is without a doubt always the hardest thing. So we will surely be promoting all these concepts again in the middle of the winter next year, so everyone can be as prepared as possible, but taking as many of these things and putting them into practice as you can this spring will really help make things feel a little more manageable come summer. Um, as I mentioned before, in one of the areas there with the design of the flyers, these are all things that we can help with. If you want somebody to help you put together a calendar for the summer or create those email templates because you're not a designer, but you want your emails to look really nice, we can help with a lot of those things. And if
And
anyone, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and if that's not exactly what you're looking for in this second, we do have a marketing tips newsletter that's free to sign up for on the website, as well as blog posts and other downloads that are free that you can check out anytime. There'll be, oh, there's going to be a survey after the webinar that you can fill out as well, just to make sure that we're talking about things that matter to the local food community and business owners, farmers markets, etc. So your feedback's super valuable.
Awesome. If there's any questions, feel free to drop them in the question and answer box below. We'll hang on just for a minute to see if there are any. But we are always available to reach out to anyone on our team, is always happy to help if you have marketing questions.
The beautiful goat from Southwest Michigan, also shout out Verdon Hollow Farms. Um, it looks like we might not have any questions today, but like Christina said, they can be asked at any time. So we'll have a follow-up email, and so feel free to respond to that as well.
Awesome.
Great.
Hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Enjoys, it's not quite as sunny as it was a little bit ago, but enjoy the warmer weather.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. See you next month.
Bye.